Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. As Susan said, we wanted to share some of our insights about communication. And we're in the middle of a period of change in our firm. And so we've had to communicate a lot through this period. And so what we really want to do is share with you some of those things that we've learned. I will tell you that this is the first time we've swept them up and pulled them together. So it's been a really interesting process getting ready for the talk. And it's pointed out some things to us. We'll talk a lot about momentum and the team that we use to put these things together. We'll touch on some lessons learned. And one of our biggest lessons learned is simply don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. You've got to get started and you've got to keep going. You also can get help. I am not a communications expert. I am not a change management expert. But there are communications experts and change management experts who can help you. Our team used Leading Change a lot by John Kotter. That was a kind of seminal experience for us, treating it almost like a book club, the key people who were going to affect a lot of change. And I would recommend that to you ahead of time. Susan did a great job of some of the backstory of the firm. The reason I put this up is just to point out two things, maybe three things. One is that we've been around a long time, so we're over 100 years old. So change is de facto part of our story. We also have changed from 30 years ago being a regional architecture-only firm to being a multidisciplinary design firm. So that's brought a lot of change. And then we have 3 offices over a large area. So our firm has changed a lot, not only in what we do, but who we are. So this is a picture of the firm from 1950, which we love, but it really highlights the difference that we have in the firm today. We're a very diverse organization intellectually as well as physically, spread across a wide area of the country. One of the things that has changed most visibly is the change in our leadership. So in 2013, we became employee-owned. And that really kicked off a period of change for us. One of the things that happened in about that time was that our very successful longtime president, Jim Wheeler, let us know that he wanted to retire in 2018. So by 2014, Jim had talked me into taking over his role as president of the firm. So we had that overlapping couple of years, and how were we going to manage that time period and the communications that we needed to put in place. So I'm just going to share with you a few of the things that happened over the last 5 years since we made that decision to become employee-owned and kicked off this transition of a lot of change. What's interesting about this timeline is it doesn't include everything we've done, is that kind of top row of things are things that are coming in and punctuating the change, that are reinforcing change. So new people, terrific new team members. Jim and I have very different skill sets, so we're retooling some aspects of the firm. So those things are kind of happening all along the way. The bottom line is what created kind of the framework and the anchor, the port in the storm, which was an annual business plan that we do every year that really we'll talk about more as we go along. So there were a lot of things going on. So in reflecting on this 5-year period, we have identified 7 really primary tools that we use during this time frame. And we're just going to really run through those real quickly, and we're going to talk through some of the types of messages that we were delivering, to Susan's point, and then kind of what's next for us and where we're headed on things. So the first one, I would say, is by far the most important one. I'm sure you can all agree with this, is talking to people face-to-face, real time. There is no substitute for this. I would say that the informal is at least as powerful as the formal. I would say that for me, when I first started doing it, it just felt so repetitive. I couldn't believe that I was still saying, you feel like Charlie Brown's teacher, and it's just like, wah, 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 wah. But it only feels repetitive to you. It doesn't feel repetitive to your audience because they're all starting from a different place. And this quote about it doesn't matter what you say, it only matters what they hear. So it's kind of flipping the perspective is one of the strongest lessons that I would offer to you. The second thing that we did that was super helpful in this transition period was we did a strategic plan in 2013-14 that really focused on our values and goals. And we mapped out these 5 big areas, 5 big planks of the strategic plan. We engaged the firm really intensively throughout it, so it had meaning for everyone. And those really became our Uber framework around which we hang everything. After that, we needed to make the plan actionable and figure out how could we make this relatable to everyone. So each year, our board expects us to deliver a business plan to them at our December meeting that really lays out what we're going to do for the coming year. And we very much embed in it the strategic plan goals. So what of our strategic plan do we want to focus on this year? What is the actionable part this year? It's a blend of the executive team and our leadership team saying, these are the things we're seeing, these are the things that are important, we want to highlight these for you, so there's kind of a push piece, and then there's very much a big pull piece. So each one of our practice groups, each one of our business areas essentially writes a chapter of the plan, and we're pulling up that information every year. We give them a framework, but we really ask them to pull together. We ask them to engage a cross-section of their team and really embed people in the vision and reinforce that vision. And then this is because we do it every year. The first year we did it, it was not good. It was not good. But we did it. And then the next year, we said, how can we make this better? And then each year after that, we always start by saying, what did we do last year? How can we make it better? What worked for people? What didn't? Should we cut this out? Should we add something else in? So it's really this process of making it better as we go along. Another piece that we've learned really intensively is that context matters. So how is your message landing within the context of what's going on in the firm? I mentioned the business plan. We write an executive summary of the business plan. We create presentations of the business plan. We post the deck of the business plan. We write summary posts of the business plan. We put a lot of material out there. One year, we had done a lot of this work, and we thought, oh, we've got enough written, we've got enough out there, we've got enough out there. We're not going to have meetings where I present the plan to everybody. And that was a mistake. That year, we didn't have as much traction around the plan, and people didn't feel as embedded in it. So by the time we post the plan, we've had an office, a face-to-face meeting in each office. We've put together a lot of materials on this. So again, feels repetitive to the team, doesn't feel repetitive to the listener. We also spend a lot of time trying to make sure we're expressing complex or ideas that may not be familiar to a lot of people in ways that they can understand. So we have a terrific team of graphic designers who make all of this look easy. And so, for instance, we want our whole company to understand some of the flows around our financial paradigm. How does our net revenue shape up? How do we use it? What do these things mean? So some of our younger people who have no background in business don't understand the fundamentals of this, and so we want to help them understand that. What's important for them to understand? How can we express these ideas in ways that make it meaningful and actionable to them? And then we're real believers in just facilitation in a really, doesn't have to be formal, it can be off the cuff. We like doing SWOT analyses with people. They're real simple, just get in there and document what's being talked about, connect the dots between things, ask people for their feedback. You're not promising that everything they're giving you is gonna be, in the next vision plan for the firm. You're collecting this information. You're helping them understand their own thoughts about these issues. And then quality, the quality of the tools you're using. I mentioned our graphic designers. They really do make us look good. When we're stepping back and thinking about a communication arc and what might be happening over a period of time, we really try to build into the process enough time for them to make us look good. So this happens to be a campaign that we did over the weeks before we launched Synthesis, where we did a run-up and a really fantastic campaign that involved a lot of people creatively. It was really awesome. In terms of kind of the Uber tool synthesis, we launched it in 2017, and Chris, I would say at least 3 years before that, we started the process of how we were going to put this in place. 5 years. So 5 years of work before we actually put it in place. And that was really to mature the infrastructure of the firm, implementing open asset, a lot of technical components. Our director of IT, John Eaton, has been very involved along the way. But it was also maturing our communications infrastructure. Claire Lockery, our content strategist, who's here today. Hey, Claire. Working to put in place the process that would allow this to be successful. So we did it in 2017. When we did that strategic plan effort in 2013-14, we heard really loud and clear from everybody that they were swimming in information, they couldn't find the good stuff, they were squirreling away pockets of information that then became outdated, and they were frustrated about the process. We also knew that people really wanted to talk about ideas more and really make our work better. And then we knew that trust and collaboration was going to be a big part of us working forward because we are a multidisciplinary design firm. How are we connecting the dots across disciplines? So this has really been a fantastic piece of the puzzle. It's been great. We like to celebrate. We just had the 1-year birthday party of the Square, and we had a cake. We actually had 4 cakes. It was great. And that's really the last piece of the puzzle, is celebrate your progress. You know, we're all in the business of shaping the built environment, and it's exciting, it's hard work, and you need to celebrate along the way. So we really try to, as often as possible, reflect on what we've built together. We have a day we call Collaboration Day. Every 3rd year, we bring everybody in the firm physically together in a room very much like this. The intervening years, we have events and programming that stitch that together, and that's become a good tradition for us. We also have awards around collaboration. The 2015 winner of the Lex Schwartz Collaboration Award is here, front and center, Nikia Neves. And this is an award named after one of our beloved technical architects who is really a paradigm of sharing knowledge. And so really the lessons learned piece is really primary around that. So what are we saying? What do we have to say? And again, looking back and preparing for the talk, we realized we had 3 primary message types, and we're going to just walk through those and talk about the differences. The first is really firm vision and direction. These are our most formal communications. We spend a lot of time writing them. We have sometimes used an outside professional writer, Jim Dale, who has helped us with a longer arc of communications, particularly around the transition where we had both an internal and an external message around that. And that's been super helpful. These get edited by a lot of people, a lot of eyeballs on them, and really thinking through what's our message, what is our audience seeing in this, how are we not only communicating some new, in this case, news event, this is about Jim's retirement, but also reinforcing larger messages around the vision and where we're headed with the firm. So really future leaning. The second is important news. This is happening all through our organizations all the time, sometimes happy, sometimes less happy. But they really are careful communications. They are also pretty formal. Ideally, they get reviewed by a fair number of people as well. I would say both of these 2 types, the most formal types, we also try to the extent possible to preview these messages with our senior leaders in the firm so that when it comes out, you know, an hour later or a day later and hits the whole firm, they've had time to think about it and be able to answer questions for their team. So we're trying to amplify the understanding and the ability to interpret these messages across the firm. The third type is the one that I think was really the aha moment for all of us, which is we've called individual insights. So I'm going to use some examples from me, but this occurs throughout our entire leadership team, where we're trying to allow people to just know us as professionals, know us as people, know us as leaders. So this happens to be an example of one from after I had attended a conference, and I saw some cool architecture and urban design, and we talked about the state of the profession, and so I'm just kind of sharing, this is what I'm seeing in my world, this is how I'm spending my time, this is what I'm doing. And it happened to spark a terrific discussion in the comments around alternative delivery methods. And I was like, cool, that worked. Another way that I like to communicate is to, in a way, showcase some things that people are a little hesitant to showcase, kind of toot their own horn, but I can do it for them. So this is from a tour of a building that we had just finished, fantastic tour, and it kind of sparked this conversation among the team, like, oh yeah, well so-and-so did this, well yay, they did that too. And how can you catalyze those communications to happen going forward? And then the last is just really like me as a person. So last year during our collaboration event, we did a share your favorite places day, and I shared two, one from the work side of my life and one from the home side of my life, just some insights to what I think about and who I am. Before synthesis, the PS era of the firm, we all had email. And these were sort of dark days. So I went back to 2016, and now it just seems so crude. And so in 2016, these are the everyone emails that I sent. So you probably have a version of this where you type in everyone, and it goes to everyone in the firm. And it's like high anxiety, and look how dreadful that is. I mean, it's just dreadful, dreadful. So you said, you are that person cluttering their inbox, right? So you want to send as few of these as you have to send. So we went back and we plotted what that meant. So this was 2016. These are those everyone messages. And what you see is there's a pretty steady, regular rhythm. But you get to the end of December before there's one of that third type, where there's an individual insight being offered. All the rest of them are some formal communication that's very top-down. It doesn't have any bottom-up quality. It's all top-down. And then we went and looked back at the post from 2017. And there's clearly a lot in those two formal categories around vision, direction, and important news. But the difference, the doubling, is really very much in the individual insights and kind of creating that texture. So why do we think, why is this important? Yesterday, Nick and others in the focus on lessons learned, we talked a lot about what is essentially accelerating experiential learning. We're all learning through our own experiences at our own pace. And what we're trying to do is get people to learn faster, right? I'm going to tell you some information that you can use. Trust me to use this. So how do you expect people to trust you if they don't know you? So that was kind of our epiphany around these individual insights, is that they build that texture and kind of granularity of understanding of who you are as a leader. I'm using me as an example, but this is true for everybody who has a leadership role in our firm across the organization. And that brings us to, I think, one of our most critical pieces, is this is absolutely about the team. It is all about building the team and letting others help with the message. And we're designers, we're engineers, we're architects, all of us in this room. We work in a project-based format that reinforces team, right? We understand what team is about, but how does that translate into a bigger communication strategy? So sometimes it's important for me to start a discussion. So we're updating our strategic plan right now this year. So it was important, and it felt right for me to send that first message to the firm saying, hey, we're updating the strategic plan. Here's how it's going to go. Here's how you can help, get involved. It's important, we care. But after that, it was really important for others to send those messages. So this were a series of messages over 2 or 3 weeks. When we did the first listening sessions to kick off the strategic plan. And so what I'm really excited about is this has become part of the normative planning for these events, just like we would have a discussion as a team about who's going to print the boards and who's going to man what stations. We also have a conversation about who's going to do the square post after it's over or before it's over. So it's become part of our normal communications lexicon to think strategically about the voice, whose voice is going to be the one this time. Another thing I mentioned earlier, or maybe I didn't, that we've kind of learned a lot over this year about how to use different aspects of these posts and communications. Equity and inclusion is a very important topic for our firm and for our industry. And so we've been talking about that a lot. We happen to have a young architect who's played a leadership role in starting a chapter of the National Organization of Minority Architects in Baltimore. We're super excited about that. He's really excited about it. He wrote this post about the first general chapter meeting. It happened to be going to be in our office. Fantastic. When I read this, I thought, this is so great. What a milestone. How happy we are about this. But I also had an inkling that some of our readers of this post wouldn't understand what this organization is, wouldn't understand how it related to them, and needed some help understanding the full picture. But at the same time, I didn't want to make it weird, you know? So rather than just jump in and start commenting right away, I went to Beresford, talked to him in person. He was excited that I wanted to amplify his message and tie it into the corporate component. So we came up with a plan, and I wrote a comment that rather than saying, here's what the NOMA is about, I simply asked another question, say, hey, Beresford, could you tell us more about this organization and what it does? And then he wrote this fantastic response that really highlighted those essence. I could have written that, but it was so much more meaningful for us to take that time to just tweak the process so that it came from his voice directly. And great result, great meeting. They're off to a great start. It's really exciting. So what's next for us? I think we've got this framework. We've built this tool chest, trying to figure out what's next. Claire did a terrific survey recently as we were reflecting on the progress we've made on the intranet. And we know there's a desire within our organization for more discussion around technical topics, what we refer to shorthand as shop talk. We're deep in the creation of a manual of practice. We'll be rolling that out. Again, not perfect, in process. Get on board, help make it better. So that's happening in the next couple of months. We also have reflected on the role of promoting posts and kind of pinning them and holding them to try to help understand, help people find their voice around issues. And we've learned that people see pinned posts as important. That's really the message. Whether it's something that I'm writing about firm direction, or it's like, hey, this is technically important, we want you to think about this. We have an internal leadership development program that we started last year. It's very small cohorts. It's a combination of professional development and career development. It's a sort of safe place where people will come together, ask questions, talk about issues, work things through, and engage with each other. So much of what we're doing in our communications is, again, accelerating the development of our next generation leaders is really critically important. Andrew yesterday talked about the tsunami of baby boomers retiring and the need to pull young people up into those places. And so that's much of what we're doing. So they need to know each other as much as they need to know either up or down. So that's been a real success, and we're keeping going on with that. This summer, we're looking to launch a People and Culture Committee, and this is this, Jim Wheeler, our former president, has this great phrase about don't hold your jello too tight. You know, we want our culture to be strong. We want there to be some framework for its organization. But what we really want to do is amplify and direct, to some degree, people's natural passions and take advantage of those components. So how can we harness that energy in a way that is firm-wide and creates that framework without being too down in the weeds and controlling about things, because I guarantee you that would not work in our culture. So that's where we are. I'm looking forward to talking with Susan on the, and hearing from you, your questions and comments. I'd love it if you have any advice for us. Kind of when we think back about what we've learned, it is this framework, this idea of a framework of communications. It is definitely imperfect. There are times when we really have not hit the mark and have to go back and rethink. But we try to focus on momentum. What have we learned? What are we doing well? How can we keep it going? We talked about it feeling repetitive, and it will. I will tell you, some of these have been very tough conversations, and I would say tough, even when they're happy, they're still complex, and they're still hard, and they're fundamentally emotional. And again, celebrate your progress with your team, because it really is all about our team. Thank you.